Welcome to the Kiwi Mana Day. Hi, this week we are talking about threat action, Cowboys, pesticide, positive action in Vancouver. Oh, said that wrong. Pesticide positive action in Vancouver, thieving mongrels, and the long arm of the law. This is
I thought the law ran the
law won. Yay! Okay, this is episode 90. I thought that was quite fitting. This is episode 95 of our beekeeping podcast.
And this week we'd like to thank Gavin Weber from Australia. They've been supporting the Kiwi Mana Buzz for over 13 months.
Woohoo!
Yep, thanks Gavin. And check out Gavin's new cheese podcast at littlegreencheese.com, where he talks about how to make cheese. It's really quite interesting, eh? I like eating cheese. I haven't made any, but
I wonder if it's lemon squeezy, cheesy peasy.
You'll have to check it out.
Ah, yes you will.
And if you want to support the Kiwi Mana Buzz, we'd appreciate that, and we would value your contribution.
Absolutely.
And you can check out at kiwimana.co.nz/banana. And we'd really appreciate that.
Okay.
And big thanks this week to Aaron from Wellington for his fantastic donations.
Absolutely. And hi, and if you want to support us, you can support us, and Aaron has done that, and through his donations, we are using his donations to help us set up the gear for our new teaching apiary. Thanks so much, Aaron, and we'll keep you posted on progress with that. And the first things we've got are 2 hive stands, and they'll be going in place, and the landowner's preparing the base for the 2 new colonies going in there. So all very exciting. So watch this space.
Absolutely, and that place has got a lot of wild time and everything. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so if you want to hear more about what we do here at Kiwi Mana, you can listen to our shows and at your own leisure.
Absolutely, and remember to subscribe to our podcast so you get them directly to your phone or device.
Yeah, so who are we and why are we here?
Well, I'm Gary.
And I'm Margaret.
And we are beekeepers from the hills of Waitaki Ranges in West Auckland, New Zealand. And our podcast is about beekeeping,
gardening, and a bit of politics about environmental issues which relate to beekeeping and bees.
And also we often go off on tangents, but it's all fun.
Yeah, we've been quite calm lately, haven't we?
Very calm.
Yes, there's been a few sobering things going on, which, yes.
We'll cover later. And it's spring in New Zealand now, and this is out here in September 2016.
Yeah, so woohoo! Bee season 2016 has begun.
So thanks very much for listening. And if you want to look at the show notes, which are fantastic, aren't they?
Fantastic.
It's kiwi.bz/95.
Even if we do say so ourselves.
Absolutely. And that'll have all the links to everything and how to subscribe and all sorts of great stuff. And big shout out this week to our listeners in Hawaii in the United States. And did you know Hawaii is the only American state that grows coffee, cocoa and vanilla beans? Did you know that?
I did not know that, and I'm very glad to hear it. Because you know who pollinates coffee beans and cocoa beans?
I believe I know coffee's pollinated by bees.
Yes, cocoa is also.
What about vanilla?
I'm not sure about vanilla, but...
Not sure either.
That's good. So there's food there for the bees.
Absolutely. And thanks for listening to our show, guys. And thanks for you to come along today. It's fantastic. We know life is busy, and we appreciate you've taken the time to listen to our podcast.
Yeah, and we appreciate you joining us. And, also your contributions through your comments and emails. It's just awesome and does keep us on our toes, that's for sure. So, what's happening at Kiwi Mana, Gary?
Well, remember we had Hillary Cooney on the show a couple of shows ago?
Oh, she was a girl next door, wasn't she?
Girl next door, honey. And she lives in San Diego, and she's got an online course. So you can actually learn about beekeeping online.
That's interesting.
So check out the show notes there. There'll be a link to that, and you can. Some great photography in there. We saw the introduction to it.
Yeah,
looks
very
stunning.
Good. Yeah, I think it's well worth having a look at least. at least, at most, do it.
Absolutely. Check it out. And she just recently spoke at the Natural Beekeeping Conference near LA in Pasadena, I think. So, yeah, we missed that. We would love to go there, but we didn't win lotto, unfortunately. We've had some bad news. Bad news this week. Last week, about I had American foul brood at our quarantine apiary. Yeah. And that's what the quarantine apiary is for, isn't it? To trap any swarms or something. And
yeah, that's right.
This had a American foul brood, and the hives had to be destroyed.
Yeah, we're really gutted because it's a tough thing to have to deal with, and when I have to tell a customer they've got AFB, it's just as bad to tell them as it is to realise it's appeared here. So there were 2 colonies there which had been second season at that apiary, so they had been doing well, but one of them failed. But the inspection on that just did not show any AFB. But the other one that was still ticking on, was had AFB in it. So, yeah. Yeah,
they were a strong hive, and unfortunately they came to AFB probably because they were robbing out a weak hive somewhere that had AFB.
Yeah. So it happens, and we thank everyone on social media who sent us their condolences and their, words of support. So we appreciate that because, sometimes there can be a bit of stigma attached to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, AFB is one of those things that you can't really prevent. It just happens. The only thing you can do is find it early and get rid of it quickly.
Yeah, I think keeping on top of your inspections and keeping all your gear clean, and that site was fully contained with its own gear, tools and everything. So we were pretty happy with the best practice we used on managing the beekeeper hygiene. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'll put a photo there. You can actually see the AFB drawing out from the frame. So there'll be a photo in there. So click at the show notes at kiwi.bz/95. Or if you follow us on Instagram, you've already seen that photo. So
yes, the painful process that you have to go to.
Absolutely. And congrats to Chris and Lauren, who we met a while back. They came from Sheffield. They won the first prize in the blind taste test. Officially, it's their Sheffield's Tastiest Honey.
Yay, well done, guys. That's awesome. So Brit Mana is alive and well.
Absolutely, and we gave them a Kiwi Mana hive tool, and they said that was instrumental in making that honey taste better.
Awesome.
So, if you haven't got a Kiwi Mana hive tool, you better go and get one.
Yeah, that's the beekeeper's crowbar.
So that was fantastic news. Great news, Chris and Lauren.
Yeah, congratulations.
That's good to hear from you.
Great.
And crazy stuff going on at my day job last week. In the words of John Hyde, the guy that hired you just got fired, your job's expired, they ain't just told you yet. So that's a bit depressing. But I'm still there, hanging in.
Yeah, we just...
well, hopefully we can hang on to that job.
That's the hope, eh?
Yeah, that is the hope. And last week also caught up with Stephen Browning from the Green Party. He was in town at a Spray-Free Streets talk in the ATS Square. And he's agreed to come on the podcast.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think that what he's standing for, these spray-free streets, is very important because the Auckland Council seems to want to just spray everything, and they're letting Auckland Transport just spray everything. It's even over winter they've been spraying, which is just unreal. And why would they be doing that anyway? Oh, I noticed myself going off on a tangent.
Well, last week we covered that scientific research about Roundup affecting bees' navigation. So if you want to check that out, it's kiwimana.bz/94. So that's interesting. And tonight we're going to the Wellington Bee Club, eh?
Yeah, that's great. So, yes, we'll be going there for the first time. Looking forward to it, and we'll let you know how that goes.
Yes, and we're invited along by one of our listeners, Eva Durant. And hopefully we'll get to meet Frank Lindsay.
Cool. So what else has been going on, Gary?
Oh, I've been getting some great voicemails for the 100th show. Really appreciate all those voicemails, guys. It's been fantastic. So if you've got a short tip, go onto our website, kiwimana.co.nz, and click on the right-hand side as leave a voicemail, and you can record a little tip about beekeeping. And some of the tips have been quite amazing. I didn't even think about some of them. So
yeah, the whole idea of this, guys, is for you to join us to celebrate, our 100th episode, and we want you to be a part of it. So, yeah, give us a hint or let us, share something that you've done in your beekeeping that works for you. And, yes, you may well be on that episode.
Absolutely. And what's happening with you? You hoot, Margaret. And, of course, that was the sound of the New Zealand owl.
The moorpork. Okay.
So you've been doing last week you were doing a course. How was that going?
Oh, the introduction to the world of beekeeping. We had great attendance on this one, and what a great bunch of students were there and asking me questions, keeping me on my toes, really trying to test my brain for knowledge, and a few times I stumbled with memory loss. But we got there in the end, and we got it together and had a really good time. And already, people are wanting to get their gear and start going. So it's and they're doing it with the awareness of issues like AFB. So I shared with them what happened to us and that it is devastating. But you have to keep going, and you have to keep your knowledge going and learning about all the things that threaten the girls. And I asked them after telling them all the hard stuff that we have to deal with, and they all put their hands up that they want to keep bees. So that sounds good to me.
You must have been convincing.
No convincing necessary.
That's fantastic, because we heard of one person that went to a course and they got put off.
Oh yeah, they just said, "Nah, I'm not doing it."
So we don't try and overwhelm people, do we?
I think the course is just to sort of introduce, terminology and what's required here in New Zealand for keeping bees and some of the best practices that we use and the tools we recommend. So it's a very simple and easy course to do, and hopefully a bit of fun as well. And I think that's an easy way to do it, to just see if it's really what you want to do, and it's working well and people appreciate it. And we're actually moving on to start doing some seasonal short courses. There are 2 hours, and they are basically dealing with a seasonal approach, like what you would do in spring, summer, autumn and winter. So each one has its own challenges. So we're introducing them in the next few months. So that'll be good fun.
Absolutely. And how's winter been then? You haven't checked all the colonies, have you?
No, I haven't checked all of them. There's a lot of robbing behaviour going on at the moment, and some of the colonies are quite quiet, so I'm not sure what's going on there. So that's the next step in our scenario, is to go through all them, disease check them, and move on from there.
And time to get ready for spring preparations now that it's spring?
Yeah, just harping on as usual about monitoring what's going on in the hive. This is the time to do your assessments, check what's in the hive, then 2 weeks later go back in and see what progress has been made, because then you're more onto anything that the bees are facing. If you need to treat because there's Varroa presence or anything of that nature, do that. Get all your bees sorted out before spring really kicks into action. And, we talked about what happens in an apiary, and AFB happened. So we notified the authority and we let them know that, we had the AFB diagnosed. And, so that's what you do. If you find it, tell people, get it sorted, and then work from there how you want to proceed. So our our desire is to continue going on, but that actual apiary, we're going to close it, and it's it's closed at this point until we feel it's safe again.
Yes, because you can't actually move bees from that apiary for 2 years, so it's kind of defeats the purpose of it, really.
That's right. So, so we just did what was required, and they were happy with that. And moving on to pest positive action.
What is pest positive action?
I think you have to positively approach the fact that you may have pests in your hive, and you have to deal with it so that you can prepare your colonies for the swarm activity. And when they start having the symptoms of swarming, like cells or preparation cells, that you'll be looking at getting them as clear of Varroa as possible. And then if you do that, then you do like a split for the swarm side of things. That will also help with a bit of a brood break while they raise the new queen. But there's not a lot of drones in our area at the moment, so splitting a hive now would be just suicide. So don't do it, guys.
Not at the moment. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And swarm, we've got a swarm catchers list, haven't we?
Yeah, well done, Gary. This is Gary has set this up so you guys can sign up to the swarm catchers list, and a reminder that you put your number on there. It's going to be publicly displayed so that they can call you when they have a swarm, and it's all, you can just add your area. And pretty simple, just do it on our website. So, it's under resources. So
on the short code is kiwi.bz/catches.
Awesome. We're going to catch that.
Catch that swarm.
Catch this. But catch the bees.
Absolutely right.
Okay, yeah.
Hive losses. What's all this about? Is it Nosema?
Yes, we've had some contact from Don McLeod, and he has spoken to us about the colony that I talked about that had, I believe, failed because of the foraging bees never coming home. And there she was, the queen, alone with about 6 or 7 bees and a few foragers coming and going, but the principal of the hive never came home. So, he says that maybe it is a Nosema issue, and that everybody who is having failing hives should really try and see if they can get their hives tested for it. So he's also put a whole lot of links on an article which we're putting together at the moment, and it should be of help to all of us if you can actually go in there and say what area you're in and what happened to your colonies, what were the symptoms and that kind of thing. So yeah, if we get enough people doing it, I think it would be worthwhile finding out if we have got Nosema and, spreading.
Yes, absolutely. Good work there, Margaret. I look forward to the article. It sounds good.
I just want to ask you, Gary, you said that there had been some changes with Nosema over time?
Well, there's that new variety they discovered in Thames, Coromandel. The new variety we talked about last with Dr. Mark Goodwin.
Yeah.
So that's probably, I think that's what he's suspecting it is. There's a new variety of it.
Yeah. So I think it would be good if people want to email us and say, what happened to their hive and if it failed and what they ended up with. Because I've had a few other people email me and talk about that the hive just ended up with the queen and a few bees. So doesn't look like they absconded. So it'd be really interesting to see what is going on.
Yes, absolutely. And the Kiwimana waiting list for bees, we had to close that because high demand. We're working with a new breeder, aren't we?
Yeah, he's the breeder that was doing the queen rearing for us, and now he will be helping us produce nucleus colonies. So that's we're working on now. And now we wait.
Yes, absolutely. And we're building stock. I've just been building some frames today, so it's been exciting.
Yeah, we got new stock in, and we're just replenishing our stock levels. And we bought a whole lot of suits, and they're all selling out. So we're ordering some more. So we've got books in, The Practical Beekeeping Guide for New Zealand Beekeepers. So that's an awesome read, which you'll find interesting. Got some methods in there that will be helpful. And what else?
Oh, we got a fantastic book in the mail today from Doug Purdy, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, and I've just started reading it.
Beautiful
and,
book.
We will share this with you.
Yes, we'll share it later on.
Yes.
It's some good stuff.
You'll be waiting with bated breath.
I just think the photographs are fantastic.
Yeah.
And beekeeping services are resuming on the 15th of September.
That's right. So that's just to help with, we've already had pre-bookings for doing sign-offs for the AFB side of things, and that's got to be done by November. So, if you need that done, if you're too busy to do the course, we're happy to help you with that, and you can book it online. And, it's all good. And, wow, what are you guys doing?
Exactly. Remember we asked last week, what are you doing? We got some responses. We got a message from Ernest. He's working from home in the IT field, and he's burning beeswax candles to keep warm. Oh, I said, does it keep you warm enough? He says the computers he works with keeps him warm, so that's good. Good use of resources. And there's a Beginners Beekeeping, another blog, and an update from Greece. What's that about?
Yeah, that's Lauren and John have put together another one, and we're combining it with the email they sent us in spring, and just seeing the difference between the spring one and the summer one. And so by the time this one will come out, they'll probably be preparing for the autumn.
Fantastic.
So thanks, Lauren and John, for taking time to share what's happening over in Greece. It's awesome.
And that's coming soon. Now we're moving on to blog recap. We recap the last month's blogs. First one, number 1, Winter Worries, Survival Mode for Spring. This was episode 94, and this was our number 1 article.
Oh, fantastic. So obviously you guys found some value in that, so thank you.
Yeah, cheers for everyone downloading it.
Yeah.
And number 2, How to Split a Beehive. This is an old article, but it's very popular.
Yeah, it's always a popular one, and people will be looking at that quite a bit at the moment because preparation is the key, guys.
Absolutely. And number 3 was moving bees to a long bench hive. I know the movie star in this video.
Okay, yes, well, just check out with my agent before we talk any further.
So that was a video we did on YouTube about how to move bees to the long bench hive. And it's full of Margaret beekeeping tips, isn't it?
Yes, I'd like to think they're beekeeping tips, handy hints and things. So, we've had a few comments from some of the customers and ended up selling 2.
Yes, that's fantastic news,
So people who really appreciate what this deluxe way of beekeeping bees is all about. And, it's definitely, I think, a really nice way to keep bees.
Absolutely. Less weightlifting, more beekeeping.
Yeah, no stack, so it saves you back.
Okay. Let's move on to the news. Beekeeping news.
News you can lose.
No, use, not lose.
Yeah, okay. Freudian slip there because people are losing.
They are losing. More about that later. First one, Taranaki beekeepers are fighting unregistered hives as Cowboys muscle in.
Yeehaw!
Now, you boys best keep riding, you hear?
No, not that kind of cowboy.
Oh.
Beekeepers all over New Zealand are concerned with cowboy beekeepers arriving in the areas, raising concern about beekeeping hygiene, disease spread, AFB anybody, and health threats to colonies. Do they really know what they are doing?
Yeah.
This article has an awesome video about this helicopter moving beehives. Check it out.
Oh, okay. So that's a good one to have a look at. And, they're just saying that using GPS, 148 apiaries were plotted, and the use of mapping software found 52% of them were unregistered. AFB National Pest Management Plan Manager Rex Baines of Wellington said. So, yes, that's a
52%.
concern. That's huge, really, isn't it?
That's amazing. I would have thought the people unregistered would be very low, but that's like half of them.
That is pretty significant. So read this article, guys, and see how you feel about it. And with these people unregistered, is it also affecting the ability of the bees to find enough food? That's the other question.
Well, the other thing is if they get an AFB outbreak in the area, they won't even know because they won't get the letter, will they?
No, they won't know.
And they may be even causing it.
I think that this is a good article to have a look at and then check out the video. Yeah, what are your thoughts about people who don't register hives?
Oh, I think it's terrible. Come across people that don't register hives all the time, and I think even for the fact you get the emails about when there's AFB in the area to give you a heads up, I think it's very important to get that kind of information. And it's not intrusive and it doesn't cost much, does it?
No, it's very reasonable, and I think that, when you're helping yourself, if you get a notice like that, like us, we go there, check the apiary, and we check it every couple of weeks and see what's going on in there. And that's the way you'll stop it from getting to a stage where you are affecting other people.
Yes, and if everyone did that, you could effectively kill AFB, couldn't you?
Yeah, I also reckon, going off on a tangent, I can feel myself just going down that road and then Varroa comes into my mind. And if everybody treated at the same time doing Varroa and everyone used organic treatments, just imagine. That would be fantastic.
Yes.
Anyway, I digress.
Imagine a world where everyone could be in harmony.
Yeah, why can't we all get along?
Absolutely. This is shocking, and we've had some feedback from Victor Goldsmith. Says this is on the East Coast as well. Yeah, it's everywhere, I think, Victor. And Katrina Erickson, what does she say?
You don't want cowboys.
Lots of laughs. No, you don't.
You don't want cowboys.
Angie Duff says, not isolated to Taranaki, lots of southern crowds start their season up here in Northland and chase the manuka all the way south.
Yeah, so...
Yes, indeed, Angie, that's absolutely true.
I agree with that. And, I think it's going to spread stuff more and more. The more hives there are, the more moving of hives, the more spread of things. So, being registered is not going to stop there's some of these behaviours, but it might create an awareness where people will do things a little differently, so we're all a bit protected.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks, Victor, Katrina and Angie for taking time to get back to us and give us your feedback. So thanks, guys.
And let's move on to a new section.
Tonight on Police 10-7, we're looking for your help to find the wild-eyed, gutless goons. I'll be looking for more help from you later on.
Those thieving mongrels.
Oh, I hope Graham Bell forgives us. Anyway, yes, we've had a lot of beehive thieves lately, and it's getting ridiculous, isn't it? And the first one is from Mossop Honey. They've had their beehives hit their Tauranga company, and I wonder what happens to the colonies. Are they just removing the honey and killing them? Perhaps they're burning the woodware. Yes,
that might be something that would attract attention if they just don't care about, because I think in my head it's saying, are they just taking the boxes and they happen to have bees in them and they don't care about that and they just removing the honey? Or are they actually taking those colonies to keep them as working colonies?
Yes, I'm not sure.
It's a big question, but this article is really good, and there's some audio from Dwayne Mossop, the production manager at Mossop's Honey.
Yes, we'll play that. Let's play that now.
Awesome.
And then we'll talk about it.
I'm Dwayne Mossop, third generation of Mossop's Honey beekeeping. Been doing it for 70 years almost coming up. Just up the honey shop earlier, which we have up the road at Tauranga. A lot of hives being nicked at the moment, as we've all heard on the news, and keeps talking more and more about it. Lots and lots of money worth of honey being stolen due to the hives being nicked. There's a lot of aggressive behaviour out there as well, I've heard. Quite a lot of aggressive behaviour towards stealing hives. So we're starting to be more proactive towards it, like a lot of the beekeepers are that have been doing it for a long time, trying to be more proactive to fighting the theft and getting on top of it sooner, and trying to prevent it as well if we can. Essentially, we're marking all our trucks and everything now, so people are starting to know who we are and know when we're in our own yards. So it helps a farmer to know if we're not there, then they're going to be taking stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Dwayne, for that. That was from the New Zealand Herald's article about it. And I think what, in answering your question before, what a lot of the operation up north used to do, they were selling the frames and putting them in their own boxes. So they're actually taking the frames out of the hives and putting them in their own boxes. So that, and because a lot of the boxes here, they mark them with their apiary numbers.
Yeah.
So I mean, we just recently got a brander, and you can brand even a frame. So maybe that's the idea: brand every single frame.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But if you've got plastic frames, there'd have to be some sort of embedment, wouldn't they?
Well, I think the brander would probably work. It would just put it burn it into it. But you should just use wooden and wax frames anyway.
That's our view, but going off on a tangent, did you hear when you played that audio? It was really nice. In the background, you could hear pukekos and the birds singing. So it was out in the field, that one.
Out in the field. So that's no good there, guys, that you've had that happen.
We're sad that it's happened, but you're doing some positive action, so yeah, keep it up and have a look at this article. And there's some value in understanding what they're going through, because it affects all of us one way or the other. Yes,
and the quote from the article says Managing Director Neil Mossop said he would set a $10,000 reward for information leading to the apprehension if his business was ever targeted again. So Mr. Mossop thought the raids were being carried out by professionals. It's just not the beekeeper going out and getting a few boxes. It's organised because they have had to use specialised equipment.
Yeah, the honey, he says, would have been extracted in a processing plant. So the honey would have to be packaged and sold. So, maybe someone who's bringing something to you that's not quite right. So
yes, absolutely. And there's also laws coming in about Manuka honey, and then people have to be licensed to sell it overseas. So maybe that'll stop a bit of that too.
Was that under was it RMP or something they called it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a video with that as well, Dale?
There is, and you can see Dwayne's lovely face. So check it out.
Okay, guys. And, our thoughts are with you. And, keep going. That's what I say.
And moving on to another story. ID marks give clues after raiders flee. A keen-eyed policeman, Andrew Graham, spotted some discarded beehive parts along the road, and he knew something was up because his father used to keep bees, apparently.
I see. So that caught his attention.
Yes, and these bees were tracked down to a beehive stolen from Beagle's Bees.
Okay, and goes on to say in the article, a police officer whose father keeps bees knew something was amiss when he came across those broken hives on the side of the road. So this article talks about what happens with that.
Absolutely, and isn't the Beagle brothers, weren't they in Uncle Scrooge, and they used to steal stuff? So maybe that's a bad name for the company there, guys, but anyway.
I always remember them climbing into that truck to make an escape, and the truck always went, couldn't quite take the weight.
And they always used to have that bag that said swag on it. And remember...
They're black and white suits, eh?
Remember Uncle Scrooge used to jump in a big room full of coins?
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't he break his neck doing that? But anyway, we digress. This is terrible, and good stuff, Andrew Graham, the police officer involved, and it's good that you spotted that.
Yeah, well done. And that's what we need. People, having a look, seeing if something's untoward and letting people know.
Exactly. And if you think it looks dodgy, then maybe write the number plates down. And then, and if anything happens, contact the police.
Yeah, guys. So, so what feedback did we get from that article?
We got a feedback from Lance Millwood. He said, avocados are now honey. It used to be banks being robbed, but now it's produce.
And just that when we got that news and that feedback from Lance, there was a thing on the news saying that there were 500 cows stolen from a farm in the South Island, and those flaming mongrels, and those cows they were in, it's not in foal, is it? In calf?
Yeah, in calf. Oh, that's terrible.
So, and they're trying to, they said that there was probably about 15 trucks that took the stuff away. But, yeah, it's just incredible what is going on out there.
People are crazy desperate. It's terrible. Anyway.
Yeah, I think
but there's some positive news.
Yeah, that's
positive news now.
No, what you said was quite interesting about, people are desperate.
I think so, or they're just lazy to do their work themselves. I think it's probably more likely.
Yeah.
It's hard work being a beekeeper, so, every hive is precious to us.
Yeah, and, imagine, you're a farmer, it's the same thing, isn't it? So we're actually
500 cows,
bee farmers.
That's amazing,
That's a
isn't it?
huge amount, so that's interesting.
Absolutely. And but some positive news. 2 people have been arrested near Whangarei after being caught with 65 stolen beehives.
Oh, my God. There is light out there, guys. So, and how did this all happen?
Well, some beekeepers saw them and they thought it was suspicious, so they reported it.
So this is
beekeepers.
Okay. So this is an awesome article about catching these thieving mongrels. Well done, and you can keep your eye out if you see the same kind of behaviour. 65 hives were stolen from the Kaiiwi area.
Yes, that's near my Uncle Chris's campsite, isn't it?
Ah.
Very close to it.
The article says the police said reported beehive thefts in the central districts had been increasing, and it was a timely reminder for people to report any suspicious behaviour involving hives. Thieves were likely to strike at night when bees had returned to their hives and the chance of getting caught was lower. Beekeepers, on the other hand, tended to shift hives just before dawn and after dusk, so the behaviour on the field was not really normal beekeeper behaviour. So
no, exactly. It's terrible. What if they had a sack that had swag written on it?
Yeah.
That would be a giveaway, wouldn't it? And
this is wonderful that they were caught. I'm just so pleased and well done.
And they were up in court on the 26th of July. So I haven't heard any more about that. So hopefully they learned their lesson. And we had lots and lots of feedback.
And that's awesome because, this feedback is a lot of the stuff that we're thinking as well. So what does Karen Morse have to say?
Now, that's a real sting operation. Lots of laughs.
That's a good one, Karen. I like that. Yes, very good.
And David Hoskins says...
Good. A man who's straight to the point. Just good.
That's right, David. Straight to the point. Grant Murfitt says, with inherited values of hives being placed in electronic tracks shouldn't be far from our minds. I think he means electronic tracking devices or something. For those that are technically minded, it's a venture for someone.
Yeah, I reckon
I can't see how that can't happen, eh?
Yeah, I mean, they're putting microchips in dogs, and, why can't it just be embedded in the side of a... But then it wouldn't emit anything, eh? It's only when it's scanned.
You got to scan it.
It's got to be emitting.
And if they're replacing the boxes, you wouldn't...
Emitting.
Wouldn't work. It needs like a GPS tracking device. Absolutely. Vernsu Bahi says...
Good job. Hope they go to jail. Stealing someone's livelihood. Dropping hives. Bees dying. Blinking dreadful.
Blinking right.
Thanks for that.
And Noodle Paul. That can't be a real name. Well,
I like it. It sounds cool.
He must like noodles. Well, that's a start. Some lowlife tried to steal some of my hives last week, but dropped them at the lock gate.
I hope
they recovered okay.
Yeah. Glad you caught them.
Yes, and Palio JMP
Silver.
He said, "Bastards. They don't just steal our boxes, but also our hard work and our hopes for the future." Absolutely, Palio.
Yeah.
Palio, yes, absolutely.
Palio.
Because the amount of time, the effort, it's like those hives we lost with the AFB. I mean, I've been, working on those for a couple of years.
Yeah, exactly.
Sad.
Yeah. And, it wasn't just the hives that they were in. It was all the extra gear that you have there for, to have it available. So it's all that as well. So it's not cheap.
Not cheap at all. Eugene Oppo says, not a sweet getaway then. Bahaha. Yes, indeed. And Moo Scotting says, good stuff.
Good stuff. That's an interesting name.
It is. It's almost as great as Noodle. And Annette Conroy says, that was a sharp beehive sting.
Yeah.
A lot of stings coming out here.
I love it.
And what does T. Max have to say?
What do they do with them? Why they steal them?
Oh, probably to sell them, T.
Or yeah, that's what I was asking. So we're on the right track. We're thinking the same. What exactly do they do with them? Did they find them with the hives functioning normally, or was the honey removed? Or, it'd be interesting to find out further.
Yes,
So,
indeed. And Jude Parenti says, yes, great news.
Helena Tamihana, she says mongrels.
Sad Emokakon.
Te Tauru Pahama says, nah, rake that. Good job. Excellent. And Chris Britton says, hope they get stung by the law.
Yes.
T. Howe Herbert says, name and shame them.
Absolutely.
And what's that next to it? A bright red
It's like a sad face.
I reckon that's a good one there. So, and the final one from Dave and Jude says, good job, those mongrels.
Absolutely. And that's awesome. Thanks for all your comments, guys.
And I'd read the list, but there's so many of you. We just thank you for taking time to let us know that, we're out there saying, get these guys and...
get these mongrels. And if you want to comment on the articles, these are all from Facebook. So if you go to facebook.com and search for Kiwi Mana, you can be part of the fun.
Yeah, the social media buzz.
The social media buzz. And the next story.
How the small country school is turning a profit from the land.
And this is up Whangarei Way as well, but more positive news.
Yeah, this is inspiration from this article, and what a fabulous way to engage the community from school kids, and everyone is reaping the rewards. So read more about this interesting project. And from the article, 2 years ago, Hukaranui School had a block of land that wasn't being well used. Much of the area was out of bounds for the children, and the school's caretaker was spending hours mowing all the excess grassy space. So that's when a group of Year 6 students had a brainstorming session and came up with a variety of agricultural and horticultural projects which would make best use of the land and provide real-life learning opportunities for the entire school.
This is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, just look, well done, you guys. I think it's fantastic. So have a read of this article, guys, and it'll inspire you.
And the kids are learning how to keep bees, they're learning how to grow vegetables, they're learning all about business skills.
Yeah, making some money. We all like money from our honey.
This would be much more
But we
useful.
do the work ourselves, and we don't steal the hives, by the way.
No. This would be great. I wish my school did this when I was growing up. Be awesome,
Would have been
wouldn't it?
great, eh? Yeah, and then you could grow bananas.
Or maybe in Northland, not down here. No, this is a great article. I really encourage you guys to have a read.
Yeah,
And
inspiration.
we had some great feedback from Shirley McEntee. What does she say?
She says, great post. Thanks, Grant.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she means Gary. I am Gary.
I am Gary.
Not Grant.
Therefore, I am not Grant.
I do get called Grant a lot, but so don't worry, Shirley. And Rhonda Glass.
Grant is good because we appreciate your feedback regardless.
Yes. Rhonda Glass says...
This is awesome. Well done.
That's
Here,
right.
here.
Everything is awesome. That is a great article.
Everything is awesome.
No. Stop singing.
Huh?
Just kidding.
Sorry. Okay, so what to do if a bee stings your dog or cat? We love our bees and our other pets, so it's best to understand the risks of a sting to your pet. So this article has some ideas for you to think about. And we like to think,
And the
don't
article-
we? Do we like to think,
Absolutely,
Gary?
we do. And the article says it's possible for your pet to go into anaphylactic shock resulting from a bee sting. So it's very important to get them treated as soon as possible. Lofton says. So you've got to. I've read the article, and it says you've got to look out for the animal, the dog or the cat. Make sure they're breathing okay. They're not having trouble breathing, and stuff like that. So that's it's good. It's a good article, eh?
Yeah, check it out, guys, and keep it in mind.
And
It's
some amusing.
important.
There's some amusing photos of dogs with big faces, but don't look at that. Just
We
read
never
the
took any
article.
photos when Snow got stung, eh?
Yeah, she's been stung on the paw,
On her muzzle, eh?
on the muzzle. She had a big thing.
And
She
it-
looked a bit like Goofy.
But, it was sort of like on one side, so she almost looked like she was annoyed. Anyway,
Yeah, and she never went back to the beehives.
she avoids them.
She waits till night time and sneaks around them.
Yeah, so no feedback on that one at this point, but this next one, you're more into what this means. It says...
Lifehacks.
Yeah, 15 life hacks for beekeepers. What is a life hack? Well, Hillary, the girl next door, shares this article which will amuse.
Yes, this is written by Sarah, one of Hillary's colleagues, I'm guessing, and she's got 15 life hack. A life hack is like a tip or an idea how to make things quicker. So it's kind of like our show 100. That'll be like a whole lot of life hacks about beekeeping.
Okay, so part of the article starts, yet for some reason no one has written about beekeeping life hacks, a community rife with tinkerers and inventors. Beekeepers are coming up with tips and tricks every day, and it's high time we get them out there. Below is part 1 of a 2-part series of Girl Next Door honey beekeeping hacks.
Yes.
You're invited to share your own hacks in the comment section, and we might include them in part 2. So
Fantastic.
check it out, guys. There's some cool stuff in there.
And there's some great stuff in there. I like this one about number 8. It says, to get good macro shots of bees, you can use a jeweler's loupy. Is that like a thing?
So loop?
Loop?
Lupe?
Is that one of those like magnifying glasses that you lost once?
It's buy an expensive set of jeweler's loops, 10 times and 30 times work great. Simply set a loop against your smartphone lens and the experiment with distances between the object and the camera. The camera will focus through the loop and take a great close-up. Now,
That's a
this
good
is
idea.
where sometimes the English language just creates even challenges for me.
What's a loop?
Exactly.
It must be the name of that little monocle thing you had from your dad. It must be one of those.
I don't know. Maybe it's a jewel of some sort.
And we got
The
a new,
mystery does continue.
and we got a new magnifying glass, didn't we? But we may have lost it. I got that from the electronics shop. You can use a big magnifying glass to look at brood.
Yeah, very important thing to do. But going back to the article, have a look at it, guys. There's some about 11 or 12 tips.
15.
15 from Sarah, and she works with Hillary, and yeah, they're sharing this article with you. So have a look at it, and let us know how you go if you take up any of those life hacks. Okay, moving along. Okay, Vancouver bans.
Bee killing pesticide.
Well, it's a start.
It's a start, and they've banned neonicotinoids because they are killing the bees in the area. And the people are using the neonicotinoids to control chafer beetles in their lawns. And this is a great article, and we've actually got some audio. So let's listen and have a listen to this.
Vancouver City Council has voted unanimously to ban neonics, a group of pesticides believed to contribute to bee mortality. The pesticides were developed in the 1990s as a safer alternative to DDT, but they are believed to kill bees by lowering their resistance to infection and weakening their ability to reproduce. A Vancouver City report says the use of neonics has been on the rise by residents who douse their lawns to combat chafer beetles. The report also found that non-target insects that pollinate are vulnerable to being poisoned. Vancouver's decision comes a week after 4 environmental groups filed a lawsuit in federal court, alleging the Canadian government registered these pesticides in the last decade without having acquired the scientific evidence necessary to evaluate their environmental risks. SFU researcher and bee guru Mark Winston says the scientific case for pesticides killing off wild and honeybees is very strong, and he applauds Vancouver in banning neonics. Yeah. He says there is a huge fallacy in policymaking that the only way to feed the world is by using pesticides. But he says that doesn't stand up to the data. Winston says organic and sustainable systems are as close to or as productive as pesticide farming. Health Canada says it is aware of reports in scientific literature suggesting that exposure to neonics may impact pollinator health and that it is reviewing the evidence. The Vancouver ban will come into effect on July 26.
Woohoo!
Great
Well
stuff.
done. Yeah. So now it's moving across into the more central states in the European Union. The European Union.
You mean America?
In Europe, they are banning.
They are banning. Yes, they are banning them. There's a limited ban of neonicotinoids in Europe. They're only banning it on products that bees like. So it'll be interesting to see. But we also have lined up an interview, possibly coming up with Graham White from England, and we're going to talk about the update from Europe. So it's coming soon.
Oh, that's great, because you're catching up where they're at. My understanding in Germany, they had banned. What did they ban in Germany?
I think all of them, haven't they?
Yeah.
I believe. And also, just recently, Minnesota, the governor of Minnesota has also introduced a ban on the neonicotinoid chemicals. So people in Minnesota, that's just come out in the last couple of days.
That's wonderful. And you know what? I really honestly think that this is a real start to it moving right across the whole of the world to understand what we're actually doing to the land.
Well, that's it, because I spoke to Graham White the other day, and he says, why doesn't the EPA just ban it across the whole country in America? Good point, Graham.
Good point. Yeah, so have a look at this article, guys, and there's hope out there, and there is some feedback here. Who's that from?
From Margaret. What did she say? Is that you?
Yes, guys, it was me. I had to say something. Auckland Council... Maybe it's time you woke up. Maybe it's time that you said that mowing a lawn with a lawnmower is better than spraying it. Oh, my goodness. Just get with the program, guys, and get back to using those the steam treatments and everything like that. And don't encourage Auckland Transport to keep spraying everything. Goodness me.
Goodness me.
And that's the edited, classy version. You should hear the other one that went on in the background.
Yeah, beep, 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 beep. Anyway, let's move on to questions from you. Questions from you. We have a question from Gordon in Dannevirke.
Yeah, from the New Zealand island of North. I've been to Dannevirke when I worked at the wool company. Oh, I see. So you have travelled somewhat, Gary.
Yep. I've been a lot of places.
So
okay.
What does Gordon have to say?
Hi, Gary and Margaret.
G'day.
Hi, Gordon. I understand that there are new regulations on spinning one's honey at home, as in the floor tiled and lights with covers, etc. They're like the food requirements.
Okay.
I've looked up on the net as much as I could, but it's still somewhat confusing. Do you have any clear information as to the new requirements? If so, I think it might be interest to all our friends in the Kiwi Mana group, especially if you could include it in the podcast or newsletter. Doing that now. Thanks for your previous info and advice. I'm sure it will help us. So many newcomers to the fold. Regards, Gordon.
Oh, cheers, Gordon. We appreciate that. And he's from Makatuku in Danavuk. And I think probably the guidelines are pretty clear from your local councils. They may have a pamphlet that you could ask them to provide you, or a list of regulations that are required for honey production. My understanding is that yes, it has to be done on a commercially set up kitchen that meets food safety standards. So
yeah, and it has to be a registered food place, not just meets the standards. So you can either get your place registered, or you can hire out like a cafe or something. But the best thing to do, Gordon, is to talk to your local council, because they probably have different regulations, as Margaret said. And
I think...
Now, what's the other thing they've got to do?
The other thing?
To sell honey commercially, what's the other thing they need to do?
They have to register it through the MPI.
Yep, but no, they've got to test
Close,
it.
but not a gold star, I guess.
Test it for
Tootin.
That's right. So Tootin is a bush in New Zealand that's toxic to humans, and you need to test your honey to prove it hasn't got the high levels of it. And then I think once you've got those two things done, you can commercially sell it or even give it away.
Yeah, I think that's the key, eh? A lot of people think that there's no harm with giving away their honey, but there are risks involved. So just educate yourselves, guys, and so you have an understanding of what's necessary. And the basic rule with Tootin is that you get all your honey off by when, Gary?
Christmas Day, isn't it? That's the best rule of thumb.
That's the rule of thumb, but it's before the 1st of January.
Yes, the risk is greatly reduced, and also if you don't have to take off comb honey after Christmas. But I think legally you probably have to get it tested anyway, I'm thinking. I'm not totally sure about that. But,
a lot of the bee clubs will do a group testing, and that will be a bit cheaper for you if you want to get it tested through your local bee club if you have one. So otherwise you can send it to Hills Laboratory and they'll do a test for you. I'm not sure how much that would be, but yeah, I think check with your local council, Gordon, and if we find out some more information, we will definitely share that with you.
Yes, absolutely. And we've got another question from Deirdre in Queensland, Australia.
Oh, g'day.
G'day, Deirdre.
G'day. Waltzing Matilda.
Waltzing Matilda. We won't mention the rugby either.
No.
You
Best
lost
not.
badly. Anyway.
Best not.
Best keep the Bledisloe Cup in New Zealand.
We'll give it another polish again.
We'll keep it polished for you. Don't worry. Anyway, moving on. She asked how to split a beehive and make a new nuke. Well, there's an article called How to Split a Beehive on our site, so check it out. It's quite a long process. And the link will be in the show notes.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting thing is that a nucleus split is a lot different from actually splitting a hive to preempt the swarm factor and trying to hold on to your queen. So the article that we have available is about splitting a hive in a more sensitive way when there's enough resources to do so. Sometimes a nuke can fail because they don't have enough resources. So, yeah, check out our method and know that it's a very strong method and very successful. So you might want to look at something a little bit bigger than a nuke if you've got some really good thriving colonies. Do a proper split first.
Yes.
And then you can keep your old queen and get them to raise a new one.
And beekeeping is the only hobby you can do where you can legally go and say, I'm going to go and buy some Russian nukes.
Oh.
Sorry. Tangent.
Oh, okay.
Next
well,
one.
When a queen bee asks you if their bum looks big in that, what would you say?
Yes. Because
the bigger the better.
Anyway, let's move along because Elijah has a question. What is a certified beekeeper in New Zealand? Well, I've pondered this, and I'm thinking, well, Telford are a company that runs courses, but I don't know if they give you a qualification. I'm guessing that a certified beekeeper is someone that's passed their DECA, which enables them to sign off disease inspections for American foul brood. What would you think, Margaret? Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I'm a bit green on this. Do you go to maybe Auckland University and get some scientific degree to become a qualified beekeeper or something?
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, but certified's a bit different. Certified is more like you've done a course and you get a certificate, so of achievement for a certain level of understanding. So, Telford run a really good course and it's very popular. So maybe that's the best way to go. And I think doing the American foulbrood side of things may be a separate achievement.
Yes, I think Telford also do it by correspondence. So if you're not near them, you can do it by correspondence. And I've heard from people that have done it, they reckon it was really good. So it's good.
Yeah, and you could also get in touch with Assure Quality. They are contractors to MPI, and they may have some more info on, what's necessary to maybe go into that line of work and what's required. So maybe check Assure Quality out.
Yep, absolutely. And we've got another message from Barb in New York City. From New York.
New York.
I can't do the accent.
It's shocking. I must say it was shocking.
It was shocking. I'm terrible. How good are electric uncapping knives? I think they're pretty good. Makes it much easier to remove the wax cappings from a honey frame.
And the other thing is that the cappings, when removed with a hot electric knife, warms it up a bit, so it helps with a bit of the flow to get it the honey removed.
Yeah, that's another good point.
Yeah.
And I've never actually used a manual one. Have you ever used a manual one?
No, because the other way I've done it is used a really, really sharp knife.
Yeah.
And a very small blade, and then trimmed the top of the cappings off. But then I've turned the frames upside down and let them flow into a tray, and then I've put them through a filter and into a jar. But that's a very time-consuming process.
Yeah, and I've seen some people using like a gas torch thing to do it, which I've never tried myself, but some people have success. Like the blowtorch thing, like the one we use for light the smoker.
That seems pretty drastic.
Yeah, I know.
You could have quite a catastrophe.
Yeah, because wax actually burns quite well.
Yeah.
So I would recommend using electric uncapping knife, and we sell them. So if you want one, Barb, we can send it to America. Or find a local store there.
Yeah, I don't know if the plugs would suit American plugs.
Oh, good point.
Yeah,
it's only for Australian and New Zealand plugs.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Sorry, Barb.
If you've got a question, email us at info@kiwimana.co.nz or leave a SpeakPipe message on the right-hand side of our fantastic blog, and we can hear your lovely voice.
That's it. Awesome. And be brave, guys. We need you to also participate in our 100th episode.
It's Random Review, where we draw a random review. This is a big thank you for you guys leaving reviews on our products over the month.
Yeah,
and we give a $30 voucher for you.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We're getting some really good feedback. And so maybe you might be in to win if you bring us some feedback and a review.
Okay, and this contest closes on the 21st of September, or 2 weeks from the release date of this podcast.
At 8 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time.
So email us, contact us, some way to get hold of us. And
if it's your number, you need to get in touch real quick.
Yes, absolutely. And we use random.org to generate a number. Okay, let's get a random number.
The winning number is
3.
Number 3. And number 3 is Jim West. He bought some oxalic acid. He says, great service, hand-delivered too, with advice. Thanks, Gary. Yes.
That's great. Thanks, Jim.
I actually work with Jim, so I gave him some advice how to use it.
Oh, awesome. So
Thanks,
that's all
Jim.
good, yeah.
So get in touch within the next 2 weeks and that voucher will be yours.
It's just waiting there, waiting to be claimed. Feedback from you. Hi, G&M. It's strange to hear you talk about preparing for spring when we are in the middle of a honey flow at the moment. It's looking good. Just to go off in a tangent, we have, well, me personally, an enormous number of calls for bumblebees. So much talk about their decline, but this year is the very opposite. More calls for bumbles than honeybees. Oh, that's Graham's gizmo.
Oh, that's cool, Graham. Yeah, we get a lot of calls for bumblebees at the end of the season, and it's hard to move them, isn't it? Haven't had much luck at all.
Yeah, my next question would be did you go and extract them and how did you do it? Because my understanding is that you need the queen there before so that the colonies can be successful, but she's usually out, doing her thing, foraging and stuff. So, yeah, I have a question.
So the bumble queen she leaves the hive every day then, does she?
Yeah, she goes out in all weather and generally, yeah, she's not in there. And I've tried to do some extractions, but they've always failed because the queen is not there. So it's a nighttime job. And guess who gets a bit grumpy at night after she's been out foraging?
I guess what you could do is put them in a box or something at the site and leave the hole the same where the other hole is, and then she'll come back at night. Maybe that would be the way to go. But I don't know.
I think it would be a few-day process. But, apparently a lot of beehive colonies are being sold now as well. So there's quite a production going on from what I understand.
Yeah, they use them in greenhouses, don't they?
Yeah, so that's
Thanks, Graham, for your comments. That's awesome. We're very pleased to hear that. And guys, come on, guys. Leave us a voicemail for the 100th show. We want to make the show your show, so leave us a voicemail or send us a WAV file or an MP3 file from your phone. It'd be awesome to hear you, wouldn't it, Margaret?
It would be absolutely awesome. And, if we get a lot, we're going to go... banana! Yeah, that's it. We're going to go banana. And, everything that you share with us, we, appreciate. And, we love you to be part of what we do. So thanks, guys, for joining us and to listen to this show. And hope you found it of some inspiration and of some value.
Absolutely. And we'll talk to you soon. We're going to have some interviews coming along. I've got to organise some interviews. And we really appreciate you coming along tonight, and we've got to go to the Bee Club, don't we?
Yep, we better get going. See ya.
See ya.
There they go, those flaming mongrels. They've got them on the run. Yeah, they're going to get a sting, that's for sure. They've been stung.